It's Mumbai's shame, it's India's shame. From a 29-year-old woman to a 5-year-old raped in Mumbai. For a city that prided itself in freedom and its cosmopolitan culture, here are two cases that say the city is becoming unsafe at so many levels. First, a 5-year-old child raped and severely bleeding was made to wait for hours in a police station as the police argued under which jurisdiction the case fell. This CCTV footage on your right shows the rapist carrying the child away, her arms innocently around the adult's neck, perhaps implying that the accused is someone she knows, somebody perhaps from the neighborhood. We aren't certain. Despite the footage and the eyewitness you can see in the corner, the accused has not been arrested. This child was operated twice. She is recovering at this stage. Just imagine the trauma that this child, just 5 years old, had to go through. What does this say about the city of Mumbai? Not generalizing, because there's another case, we'll get to that in a moment. Joining us to debate this, Shaina NC, the spokesperson of the BJP, Majid Memon, Rajya Sabha MP of the NCP, Flavia Agnes, senior advocate and social activist, and Sudhakar Suratkar, the former IPS officer. Shaina, let me come to you first. As horrific as this rape and this brutality on this child is, as shocking is the response of the police. A police force which was fighting amongst itself on which police station this child should have been taken to. How does the state government intend to address this?
Well, Vishnu, let me be absolutely clear with you at the outset itself. The fact that there was a absolute question mark vis-a-vis the jurisdiction of the police station is not even an issue which should have come up. It's absolutely unfortunate. I think the larger question here is that if a 5-year-old is raped, then what hope does that have for Mumbai as a city and Maharashtra as a state? Our Chief Minister has been extremely proactive on multiple issues, whether it's sensitization of the police force through camps, ensuring we have women constables as 33% in police stations as well as patrolling. I think this is a larger question about pedophilia particularly, which we choose not to address and not to discuss. There are so many children that have experiences of unkind touch, sometimes amounting to molestation, and in this case an atrocious rape. To say that this is an ordinary case would be absolutely untrue. It's an extraordinary case. It needed to be dealt with in that extraordinary fashion, I completely concede, because the first 24 hours are most crucial both for the victim's survival as well as to ensure that the culprits are booked to task. But you had a previous case in Mumbai where a model, which also your channel highlighted, and how she was taken to Sakinaka police station and the police actually raped her. So I think that case was a case of sheer extortion, and I was very pleased to hear Rakesh Maria, our police commissioner, and Mr. Dhananjay ji and all the police personnel say that they registered the FIR, had these black sheep of the police force completely brought to task at the earliest. Now, I'm not saying that there are solutions that a government can give, but there are solutions that political will can exercise, and Devendra Fadnavis is of the opinion that if there are cases such as this, the Maharashtra government will absolutely ensure in exemplary time that the culprits are brought to task.
Majid Memon, is that a satisfactory response? The Chief Minister has responded. The police is trying to do something, particularly with the second case. Or is there something larger wrong with the Mumbai police at this stage when it comes to the handling of rape cases or being perpetrators of rape, as the second case was all about?
No, I think this is not at all satisfactory. You see, what is the Chief Minister is giving sermons is not relevant at all. What is important is that how did the police receive a victim of rape, and much less an innocent child of 5 years of age, and on the question of jurisdiction she was made to wait for 4 years is something extremely serious. I think the police commissioner will agree with me, so will be DCP and others, that whenever there is any doubt with regard to territorial jurisdiction in matters of any crime, much less a serious crime, then in that event also, wherever the victim has gone, and if the victim is bleeding or the victim is in a very serious condition, then there is no question of dispute with regard to territorial jurisdiction. They have every power, every police officer, every police station has rights to register a crime immediately under crime number 00, and then subsequently when the jurisdiction question is sorted out, the case can be transferred to the relevant police station. There is no difficulty on that count at all. And when you talk about the medical case like this,
yes,
then there was no need to have waited even for 10 minutes.
He could have died
First,
over
the
there.
girl should have been sent to the hospital for treatment. And absolutely, you see, this is lethargy, this is indifference, this is something which is very difficult to be pardoned. And I'm afraid that in a city like Mumbai, where the policemen are expected to be on their toes and they are quite efficient otherwise, how could such a thing happen? It is beyond, digestion.
Let's just bring you this report of from the ground, from where, close to where it happened, what people in the area are saying.
First, the trauma of a 5-year-old girl being raped, then left to bleed for hours as two teams from police stations argued over whose jurisdiction the case falls under. On Tuesday night at 10:30 p.m., the CCTV footage shows a man walking with the child, walking this very path to the spot where the child was raped and then left to bleed. Residents in the area claim that they spent almost 4 hours convincing the police to take the child to the hospital.
एंटोपिल पुलिस स्टेशन को लेके गया, वहाँ से उसका डैडी ढूंढते आया था, रिटर्निंग आया, उसको बुलाया लिया, फिर उसका मम्मी को पहचाने को मम्मी को बुलाया, बच्चे का मम्मी को, वहाँ से बिठा के करीबन 1:30 से 2 बजे वो लोग WTT वडाला TT पुलिस स्टेशन लेके गए। वहाँ वो लोग ने रिफ्यूज किया कि हमारे एरिया में नहीं आते, आप लोग जहाँ क्राइम होगा वहीं लेके जाओ। फिर हम लोग ने चिल्लाया कि आप लोग पहले बच्चे को ट्रीट करो, को आया ऑलमोस्ट 4 घंटा हो गया इसके अंदर, तो बोले कि फिर वो लोग ने रिटर्न वडाला पुलिस स्टेशन से एंटोपिल पुलिस स्टेशन को लाए। फिर हमारे लोगों को, जो आजू बाजू का बिल्डिंग्स के लोगों को सब बुलाए, तो इकट्ठा हो गए। हम लोग खुद मतलब उधर ब्लेम डाले कि आपको नहीं लेके जाना, हम लोग लेके जाएंगे। हमको पहले बच्चे को एडमिट कर दो, ऑलमोस्ट 4 घंटा बीत गया, बच्चे के साथ जो भी हो गया, पूरा ब्लीड हो रहा है। तो बाद में 2:45 बजे पुलिस का वैन से हम लोग ने साइन हॉस्पिटल लेके गया।
बच्चे ने हम लोग को बताया क्या वो आदमी मेरे को जबरदस्ती उधर से बुला के लेके गया, मेरे को चॉकलेट देने के बहाने बुलाया और गोदी में उठा के लेके यहाँ तक आया। बाद में वो उसको उधर लेके जाके उसका गला बिला दबाया, उसके साथ जो करने का वो गलत काम किया।
While the police concede that there was a delay, they say that it only took about 2 hours, which is bad enough to admit the child to the hospital.
कुछ संशयित लोगों का नाम सामने आया था, लोग सामने आए थे, उनको लाया था, तो पूरी इसमें तफ्तीश इन्वेस्टिगेशन हमारा चल रहा है।
Residents, however, claim it took 4 hours. But while this juggling took place between two police stations, the life of the 5-year-old hung on a technicality. In Mumbai, with camera person Suhas, Nikita Arora for NDTV.
Mr. Suratkar, you are a former IPS officer. Let's just look at the time sequence and I'll ask you to respond. 10:34 is the time stamp on the video which shows this child being carried away.
Correct.
Residents called of the area saw her at midnight, 1.5 hours later.
Yes.
They called the police at 12:15. The police arrived half an hour later. At that late at night, it still took them half an hour to reach over there. They then took the child to the Antop Hill police station at 1:30 in the morning. After that, they transferred her to the Wadala police station. Then they took her back to the Antop Hill police station. And at 2:45 a.m. in the morning, this child was taken to a hospital. Which police force on earth would do something like this? Why would they conceivably do anything like this?
Actually, the police should have taken the victim immediately to the hospital. All other formalities about registration of offence, other things could have waited. That could be taken subsequently. So, what is happening today? Why the police have become so insensitive? Why they are trying to shirk their responsibility? You will have to go to the root cause.
Yes.
Actually, what is happening today, I am not taking the side of police.
No,
the first thing the police should have done is immediately the victim should have been taken to hospital and not to the police station. That they have not done.
Yes.
People are afraid of taking the victim to the hospital directly because they feel it's a medical legal case and police are to be, what is expected is only to inform the police. And you don't have to wait for the police. Police have failed and those who have failed must be punished. There cannot be any other view. But I think now we must realize that in any such a situation, anyone who comes across such a case, the first thing he should do, that they take the victim, the injured, to the hospital. And other formalities can be completed later on. Mr. Majid Menon has rightly said the instructions, the rules, law is absolutely clear. Whenever a policeman comes to know about it, he must act. There is no question of jurisdiction.
Flavia Agnes, let me ask you this, ma'am. You know, the predators out there on the lurking around for vulnerable children, it's a reality that exists everywhere in our country. Children being so, so potentially children being so vulnerable to predators like this. Is our police force or anybody able to identify pedophiles lurking around and being such a menace in our big cities? In Mumbai, isn't this the big problem?
It is indeed a large problem, and I think there is a lot of rapes that happen, sexual violence that occurs on the streets of Mumbai all the time. I am glad that you all are highlighting this case, because usually we are told that the police are acting very promptly. We are working very closely with the police, and we have conducted training to a large number of police, and we have drilled into them the concept of a zero FIR. But more importantly, if any time any victim is bleeding and she is injured, the task of the civilians also is to rush her to the hospital and not rush her to the police station. I think this is one important message that all of us must know, that it is important to take the victim to the hospital and not necessary to take the victim to the hospital, to the police station. The hospitals will start the procedure both of treatment as well as recording of the FIR. So this one message I want to put out very clearly. Secondly, it is true, we have had cases of rape and murder of children who are sleeping on the streets at night. Only when there is a murder that we realize that there was also rape of such children. There must be so many cases that are happening in this city all the time, and most of them do not get reported. They do not come into the picture at all. And according to me, our night patrolling, the way the police act, particularly preventive measures, are very important, because these children are between the age of like 4 to 8, and in this age group they become vulnerable because they are out in the open. And I also want to think that it's everybody's responsibility. When you see a child being carried out by a stranger, immediately call the police helpline 103 or accost the person. A group can come together and stop the man from taking away the child. Now, we seldom do these measures, though there is CCTV footage, so the people have seen the man taking away the child. Nobody wants to take responsibility, and everybody thinks somebody else must act. I think it's a duty of all of us. Yes. It is a duty of the police, it is a duty of the law enforcement machinery, yes, but also it is a duty of all of us. Under the Child Sexual Abuse Prevention Act, that every person who sees a child or knows of a child being abused must report the matter to the police. And I think we need to take this issue very seriously. There is a provision of mandatory reporting under the POCSO Act, and all of us must need to act on that. And whether it is a hospital, whether it is a street, whether it is any place, a child abuse takes place. And I want to tell you, most abuse takes place in the home.
Yes.
Most of the cases that are coming, a large number are family abuse. And here the cases go unreported.
Okay, ma'am, I'm interrupting you only because it would be wrong for us to end this program without highlighting another story that's happened, another shocking report of rape. It did take place earlier this month when a model and her friend were detained for 4 hours inside a police station in Mumbai, where she was allegedly raped by policemen who also extorted her of 5 lakhs approximately. If she didn't pay, the policemen said they would register a fake case against her.
Protectors or rather predators. 3 policemen in Mumbai arrested for allegedly raping a 29-year-old model, even extorting 5 lakh rupees to not register a fake case. She claims on April 4th she gave an audition at this hotel, and then the police picked her up, took her to this police outpost and raped her. Weeks later, she gathered courage and texted Police Commissioner Rakesh Maurya about the incident. Joint Police Commissioner Deven Bharti told NDTV, "The moment we received the complaint, we decided to register the offence and ensured fair investigation. We will not tolerate such kind of incidents, and whoever found indulging in such criminal acts will be dealt with sternly.
Some political rival, some officers, opposite officers are collusionally, this false case has been made out against this accused.
The police harassment of people who are unable to do anything about it just continues. And I think this rot is so deep that it is not enough for the police commissioner to say they will take action against these particular cops.
As it is, when crimes against women take place, the ripple effect of fear impacts many, many others. But when the city's lawkeepers turn lawbreakers, it further adds to the already poor trust deficit between the city's police force and its citizens. With camera person Praveen G. Rohit and Nikita Arora, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Will there be justice for that 5-year-old child and this 29-year-old woman? That really is something that one hopes and one prays that there will be justice. We're completely out of time. You've been watching. The buck stops here. It's time for us to take this short break.